Alright, so today I'm going to go over some important metrics to look at and make data-driven decisions based on. You always want to make data-driven decisions on any platform that you advertise on, whether it be Facebook, TikTok, Snap, Google. Look at the data and make decisions. There's going to be 4 key metrics, 3 that are going to be on your platform. The 4th one, which is COGS, cost of goods, is not going to be on your platform, but it's highly important that you know, obviously. So we'll get to that in a second. But the first one is going to be your ROAS, your return on ad spend, which is straightforward. Return is how much you put in and how much you've received back from sales. So, if it's a 3 ROAS, that means, you put $5 in and you gained $15 back, right? So you just tripled your money. Now, that doesn't calculate your COGS, your cost of goods, so that's why it's important to know your cost of goods, and we'll get to that here shortly. The next one is going to be your cost per purchase, and the cost per purchase tells you how much it costs to acquire a customer or to acquire a purchase. It's called other things on their platforms, CPA, cost per acquisition, cost per purchase, all the same thing. But yeah, that helps you determine how much it's going to cost you to get a purchase, and then you can do your calculations with your COGS to kind of help you determine what you need to do. Next one is going to be cost per click, and straightforward, it's how much you're paying per click for somebody to click and actually go to your website. The more people you get to your website, the more chances of someone buying. So it's important to keep that as low as you can. And there's ways to keep getting that low. Testing new creatives, testing new audiences, all that good stuff will lower your CPC. The 4th one, like I said, is your COGS, your cost of goods. You're not going to find that on your platform. It's something that you got to, from your supplier or wherever, do the calculations yourself. But it's obviously highly important. And I have this document that I'll show you in a second, but I want to go through all the metrics. So those are the important 3. There's 2 that aren't necessarily as important, but you need to know them because they kind of guide you in some ways. First one's going to be your CTR, your click-through rate right here. And that kind of tells you if a creative or an audience is working, per se. It tells you the percentage of people that are clicking to go to your website. So you kind of want to see that high. It's not necessarily as important, but it's a good indication that if it's low, that you could do other things like test new creatives to get that higher. This next one is going to be your CPM, your cost per 1,000 impressions. This is calculated based on a lot of things, like time of day, day of the week, holidays, competitors. When it's a more competitive day, like Black Friday, your CPM is going to be high. If you have a very small audience, like a retarget on add to cart, your CPM is going to be high. Use this to just kind of determine on a daily basis where you stand in the grand scheme of things, how much you're going to pay, right? So CPM is good to look at. It's not highly important, but if you see it's pretty low, like right here it's 443, and that's kind of where I want to keep it. But on one day it's at 15, and you kind of know something's up on that day. It's not, you don't gotta get worried about it, but it's something to look at, right? So those are the metrics to look at. Now let's look at this doc real quick. So for this company, the cost of goods is fairly high, $250, right? And at the time they were selling it for $480. Now let's go back here, and we could determine based on this information here. If you scroll down a little bit, we have some that are super high, and I believe the owner turned some of these back on because he thought he knew the audience and how to work the system. So I believe he turned these back on and let them run for another couple $100. But you can look at the top here, and we can determine that a cost per purchase is roughly $100, right? So if we calculate it up based on the cost of goods, based on the selling price at the time, based on the cost per purchase, the profit is $130, razor thin profit, right? Or, not making much money off that. And if you add in all the other audiences that you're testing, you don't make any money, essentially, unless those other audiences are actually being profitable and making you money. So what we did was we raised the price right here, our selling price, and it brought us more money, right? So if you can look here and look at the row, it's fairly high, right? And that's because we were offering different things. It wasn't just one straight price. I think it went up all the way to 1,000. So if you have one certain price, these wouldn't work, and it's in your best interest to look at these numbers and make adjustments accordingly. So that's all I really have to say. I mean, it's extremely important to know your numbers and know your COGS, do your math, see where you're making money and making adjustments. So look at your COGS, look at your selling price, determine your cost per purchase. You need data to determine that. So get some sales and then make adjustments, data-driven adjustments accordingly, and you'll be fine.